Hi, thank you so much for joining us for this very, very special presentation. Now what I'm going to try and do in a very short time is summarize for a few minutes on all the major things that I deal with insurance, and today we're dealing with life insurance, health insurance, car insurance and flat insurance, apartment insurance. And what I'm going to try and do is give you a few ideas, advice of experiences I've had, some of them funny, some of them not so funny over the years, and try and put over principles of insurance. These are the things that you need to know in dealing with insurance in Israel. Okay, so we're going to start off, give you an example. We saved 1,500 shekels for a person on monthly premiums of insurance. How can that be? I'm going to tell you right now, so listen very carefully. You can do the same thing for yourselves alone. How? The answer is Har Bituach. What is Har Bituach? Har Bituach is a government website which lists all the policies you have dealing with car insurance, life insurance, health insurance and medical insurance as well. And even to look at it, it simply gives you the name of the insurance company, the number of the policy, and how much you're paying. So with a very little bit of effort, you're able to identify and you're aware, oh, I have a policy in Klal, I thought it was in Migdal, I thought it was in Phoenix. I've got two policies with personal injury. In other words, it makes like a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. And then you can say to yourself, well, that looks right, that looks wrong. It doesn't tell you how much cover you have, but it does tell you how to analyze the insurance policies you have. And from that, you can go to the agent, which should obviously someone like me, who with his experience will be able to translate more the figures and the titles on the page to help you make sure that you have enough insurance in every sphere of the field. That's the idea of Har Bituach. So before I go any further in talking about the different types of insurance, I want to give a little bit of background about who I am and how I came to be here and how I came to do what I am doing. Because in fact, I was born in Liverpool, my wife's from Manchester, and we lived very happily in England. And eventually in 1980, already many years ago, we came on Aliyah. The decision to come on Aliyah is an interesting story, because in fact, although we were very, very keen Zionists, we never from the day we got married really even thought about Israel but not Aliyah. And therefore, when in Manchester, we were going to buy a house. We had a lovely flat, we're going to buy a house. I came home one day, I was a high school teacher, from work. I said to my wife, we're going out today to see the house, the one you wanted us to look at. She said, we're not going to see the house. I said, what do you mean we're not going to see the house? She said, we're going on Aliyah. I said, we're going on Aliyah? Who says? My father said, she said, because he was a fervent Zionist. He always had the dream that we would go, and he decided that this was the time for us to go on Aliyah. So in fact, from that unusual story, we didn't see the house. Within 90 days, we were living in the Merkaz Klita in Netanya. And I came on Aliyah as a high school teacher. My wife also works in the field of education. Now obviously, one of the biggest challenges when you come on Israel is to talk. And coming from England, over it was a load of rubbish, not good at all. And in fact, this relates to insurance. I went to the bank one day and I said to the bank manager, I want אני רוצה לוויה. I got confused. Instead of saying halva'a alone, I said I wanted a funeral. Now, you know, it's a funny story and it's very nice, but in reality, this does pinpoint one of the major things we do for people. We talk to people in their language. We're able to explain insurance in their language. The truth is, even if I gave many of you an insurance policy in English, I don't know if you'd understand it. It's a legal document, it's a contract, it's complicated. They're always small print. And therefore, in the agency that I have in Ra'anana, Siegel Insurance Agency, well over 30 years already that we're in the business, the major thing that we do is we are a Moreh Nevuchim. We explain to people who are truly perplexed very deeply in many things in this wonderful country, but especially in the ins and outs of insurance. So what we do is very, very special. And this is the idea of the agency that we have in Ra'anana for many, many years. Now I'm going to turn to the different things I mentioned at the beginning. Now the first one is life insurance. You know, in fact, it's not true. When it first came out hundreds of years ago, they called it death insurance. But you won't be surprised to hear that nobody wanted it. So therefore they changed the name to life insurance, and then people started to buy it and it became an established concept as we have it. Now what do you need to know about life insurance? You know what it is. How do you know, for example, how much life insurance to buy? You can go to somebody and he'll do your whole analysis of all your figures, but I will give you an idea. For every child, 1,000,000 shekels. You have a wife, 1, and you've got children, 2 children, 2-3 million shekels. Already it gives you the idea of the level you have to cover yourself for. Many Israelis, maybe, I don't know why, because of the history here, they generally do smaller amounts of life insurance. If you come from America, $1 million. That's the only concept the Americans know of life insurance, $1 million or more. And it's right. So the first thing is, you always have to choose an amount of money, amount of cover, which is substantial, based on your age and your situation. Naturally, the younger you are, maybe the more you need, and as your children become independent, maybe you can cut the life insurance. So we have a very, very amazing story where a person phoned up to the office and said they wanted to do life insurance, and in the end she did it for her husband. And we were talking about it with her, and we said, you know what, do 1,000,000 shekels. And then we said, you know, for another 30-40 shekels a month, the guy was very young, you can do another 1,000,000 shekels. And in reality, we set up a policy for 2,000,000 shekels for a guy who was aged 31 years old. And within 8 months, unfortunately, he was killed in a major disaster in Israel when 45 people were killed in the north on Lag BaOmer. And who would have thought a healthy young guy of 31, within 8 months of a policy being done for him, a claim would be made. And the truth, as sad as the story is, that policy will make the life of his widow different forever. She will have the money to re-establish, as she has done, to establish herself, to go on in life, to move on in life, to do the things she needs to do. And this influence of this event, which unfortunately is there with her always, will be with her, helping her for the rest of her life. So very important to check the amount of life insurance you have, make sure it's updated, how much will it cost to increase it, and be aware. Over the last years, naturally, life expectancy has changed. And therefore today, people expect to live longer, therefore life insurance has become cheaper at the ages of 40, 30, 40, 50, and therefore if you have a life insurance policy which already is a few years old, check the price. Possibly you could do more cover today for the same price or reduce the premium, but be aware. Traditionally people say do life insurance and that's it for life. Truth is, you need to review the policy, and that's the thing you should be doing through us. Now, the next department, health insurance. Health insurance, my philosophy is very simple. I believe, and I've always sold policies, and I've said the same thing to hundreds of people. When it comes to health insurance, you need to know if something serious happens in the health field, it'll be you, through me, with the insurance company. No other partners are needed, no other forms are needed. In the health policy, we sell, major thing is operations, we sell also cover for transplants, and also we cover medicines. So I've got two or three stories here. Number one, I needed an operation. I went to a guy, whatever was needed. I'm not going to reveal that to you. And he says to me, listen, he says, no problem, but do you have a policy? I said, yes, I do. He said, listen, I can do it through the public system, but it'll take much longer. I'll have to shout and push to get you in. I said, listen, I have a private policy. I want to do it 2 days after Pesach, 6 in the morning. That's what I want. He said, that's what's going to be. So again, first of all, straight away you see, the reality is when you have a private policy, you're able to deal with things in a much more personal way, much more efficient way, remembering, which is always my line, that when you need serious medical treatment, you're not in the mood, you're not in listening to what needs to be done to deal with the bureaucracy. That's the first story. The second story, medicines. We also cover medicines not supplied by Kupat Cholim, and there was a case in the office some years ago where a person unfortunately needed the medicines. We paid out 50,000 shekels a month. 50,000 shekels a month for this person for his needs of medicine. The other story just happened just 2 weeks ago. I got a phone call from a client. He wrote to me and he said to me, Johnny, I think you have saved my life. Why was that? He'd gone to his doctor. He's actually gone to the hospital, and they gave him antibiotics. No, we don't see what it is, not sure what it is, you'll be okay, antibiotics, off you go. He had a policy, so you know what? He said, I'm going to go to a second opinion. He went to a top professor who said, you should know that you need a major operation very, very urgently, and if you hadn't come to me, you may have died. So in reality, the guy said to me, Johnny, I think you've saved my life. And I think that's really what's happened. So you see the importance of health insurance policies, and let's move on. So very often you're sitting at home late at night, you're tired, and somebody phones you from an insurance company talking very, very fast, and they're offering you something on the phone, amazing deal, do it today, if not you will lose out, and you'll be surprised how many people do these deals over the phone. I met somebody once and she said to me, yeah, I don't know what I did, but I gave my credit card. I said, how much a month? 500 shekels a month. And she didn't even know what it was for. She didn't know how to get rid of it. Her credit card was running on. So we call this the Mokdanim. These are people who are trained how to really speak to you. They know by the words you say how to take advantage. Maybe you're tired, maybe you're not concentrating, maybe you don't understand. So it's a very, very important thing. Do not take out insurance policies over the phone. Never. Now, next, we have a strange situation in this country where in order to, I don't know why, the insurance companies do business, they give reductions on policies. And they give you, if you phone up and say it's too much, then they may decide to give you a reduction. What you have to realize is, and this is the most important point, when you get a reduction, so what? How many years is it for? Is it for 1 year? So suddenly you find out, I can buy a life policy, I can buy a health policy, it's cheaper than anywhere else. And if you did your homework properly, you'd realize that the reason is because they're giving you 50% off in the first year, and then the next year the price will go up, and by then, who is it, what is it, how to deal with it. I generally, if I give a reduction, I give it over a few years, steady, straight, flat. Help people be in control of the figures, help people feel they get a fair deal, and not this, helter-skelter of prices. It's a jungle. You have to be very, very careful what you're dealing with there. Now we're going to go into the real jungle of insurance, which is car prices. Car prices of insurance drive people mad in Israel. There's a simple reason. If it comes to a flat, you want to insure it. If you don't, you don't. With a car, you have to have the Bituach Chova, the government insurance. So you generally will always do comprehensive policy. The prices are crazy, the pressure on the insurance companies. And this year, the prices have gone up 40%. How can that be? Well, that's disgusting, that's disgraceful. Why does it happen? It's a fault, really, of the consumer. Because what people do is, they press, obviously, give me the reductions, and the companies do it. And then suddenly, after 2 or 3 years, oh, we have big losses of billions of shekels. What are we going to do about it? So this year, for example, the reason why it's gone up 40% is because that's where we're going. The last 2 or 3 years was very, very cheap, it was very good. Now it's gone very, very high. It's difficult. The only thing you can do is expect your agent to give you the best price he can. But remember, cheap isn't always the best, because you can buy cheap policies or almost anything. When it comes to using the policy and needing the policy, and it could involve a lot of money going into all the fields of health and life, not just cars and flats, then you need to have a proper agent. I'll mention this again at the end because it is so important. Now, car insurance, therefore, is expensive. You have to shop around. You need to ask. Hopefully your agent will be doing the shopping for you. The next thing I'm moving on to is flat insurance. Well, in America, they call it the apartment insurance. We call it flat insurance from England. And the big word here is, and this is really also very important, when you take out insurance on a flat for the structure, the mivneh, the policy you can buy, there are 2 types. One is that you simply have a policy where the insurance company sends you a service company to repair the plumbing. Or, more expensive a bit, but worth it no doubt, is to have your own plumber. Now, I don't want to be sued or anything, but the service companies of the insurance companies are really bad, because basically they come to do nothing. And if you complain or they can't solve it, they'll send somebody else, hoping, salami, you'll fall away at a certain stage, say, leave me alone. I'll get a private person, I'll pay for it myself. So when you take out a building insurance policy, the way we do it, we always give you the use of a private plumber. When you have a problem, and again, it can be a difficult Friday afternoon, it can be a difficult time, the wife's going mad, you will be able to call in your own plumber, deal with it, up to a certain amount, we deal with it over the phone, just bring us a receipt, we pay out the claims. It's very, very efficient system. That's to do with flats. Now, the next thing I want to mention is also connected with flats is we always do an assessment. The company called Gemolab. It's very, very important when you have insurance that you insure for the right amounts for two reasons. You won't be underinsured practically, and also that the insurance company won't cut your claim because you're underinsured. Story here is, had a client, already with me many years, they bought a flat while they were still abroad, and the lawyer said, do an insurance policy. They didn't know who the agent was, they did it. And when they came on Aliyah, by chance, luckily they found me. I looked at their policy, it was woefully out of whack, it was no good. All the values were wrong, they hadn't done an assessment, so we quickly updated the building insurance, did it correctly, and also the possessions with an assessment, all good. Who was to know that within 3 months they had a fire in their kitchen, damage of 400,000 shekels. If they hadn't updated with me, if I hadn't dealt with it professionally as I did, then they would have lost hundreds of thousands of shekels. So now I just want to summarize very briefly the real issues, what we can do for you, very, very briefly. First of all, we're able, as I explained at the beginning with Har Bituach, we can look at policies, we can check policies, we can tell you what's going on there, and if the policies are fair to you, that's number one. Number two, we also, as you realize, I do speak English, not bad, quite good English. Number three, I think going with that as well, we look after you, we look after your family. One of the things I'm very proud of is I already have the next generation, maybe soon be the third generation, because the parents know when they came on Aliyah, all the way along the line, they've been dealt with fairly. I even have one client who says to me, Johnny, my daughters know when there's a car accident, they speak to you first and only me second. You're in charge with the family. Also, another thing is, as I said before, the documents are very hard. The bureaucracy is considerable in this country, even though we're very bright and we're very brilliant, but nevertheless, when it comes to dealing with things, it seems to be oh so complicated. And we have the patience, the time, and the efficiency of the claims department in this office to look after you well. I've been at it now in insurance for over 40 years. So what remains is to invite you to come on board, press the button, get in touch. We're waiting to speak to you. Thank you.